Good morning.
We're singing 629. Stand please, turn to 629. Love lifted me. We got 3 pianos here, so we gotta sing loud.
I'm not the leader.
Okay, who's the leader of the pack?
All right, Habakkuk. All right.
So everybody got a copy? Benji sent it.
I think so. Joe passed them out, I'm quite certain.
Yeah.
We should all have them. Anybody have marked in their Bible at the word Habakkuk at the heading, embrace or cling? Embrace
I've already passed them out.
or cling. Oh no, Benji passed them out.
Yeah.
That's right.
Nobody does.
Embrace or what?
Cling. Embrace or cling. Well, that's number 8. Habakkuk means embrace or cling. That's what his name means.
I have Robin the second advent.
Said it?
Robin of the second advent.
Second Advent.
Yeah.
You have that written down there?
Yeah.
So you wrote that in.
Yeah.
That's your handwriting. His name means embrace or cling.
Clean.
Cling.
C-L-I-N-G.
To embrace means to hug. And to cling, C-L-I-N-G, I would assume. Are you English? Okay. Cling on to?
Oh, no, you didn't say that, did you? Star Trek?
I was going to say cling on. Yeah, well, only us older ones know what all that is. Yeah, nobody else knows what that is. Unless you're watching reruns that are on the history.
Going on, that's us. They've made 3 nights.
Oh, they're rehashing it over and over again? Yeah.
Yeah, every generation.
They're rehashing that, okay. The Klingons. Okay, embrace or cling, route of the second advent. It is directed towards the south. That's Judah. It is the single kingdom, and the date is 609 BC. Now, some of this is in your notes. But see, I write that down in my Bible, so it's at the headings. And you need to get a... Now, let's say you want to do that. Now, there are people that don't want to do that. That's all right. Can I have this? This is a 005 Pigma. It is a... it's a Micron 005. It would be a rapidograph, but I used to use a real rapidograph. It's real ink. This is by far superior. It won't bleed. It won't clog up on you, and it will continue to work. The newer pen. I used to use a real rapidograph. You can get them at Office Max. Not Office Max. You get them at... Maybe you get them at Office Max. You can get them at, what's that art store?
Oh, art stores.
Well, not the art store. It's a
I got an art store here.
Hobby Lobby. Hobby Lobby. Hobby Lobby has. All right. All this stuff I have written down in my Bible that's on these lists contains 3 chapters. It's very short, these minor prophets. Father, bless now the teaching this morning, and that you would have your way today, nourishing and directing our paths today. Now, in Christ's name, amen. I am going to turn the heat back. We got the chill out of the air. Once the building cools off, it stays that way. And I don't think they turned it on. Joe, I didn't turn it on over here. Is it all pushed the bottom lever all the way to the left? I don't think I turned it on.
Yeah, it was off.
It was, okay, it did, yeah. Contains 3 chapters. It's the last prophet to the southern kingdom, the single kingdom, Judah. He was a prophet. Chapter 1, verse 1, the burden which Habakkuk the prophet did see. 3:1, a prayer of Habakkuk, the prophet upon Shigionoth. Anybody know what would stand out in your mind about Habakkuk? Anybody have any thoughts of what you would find in there? Nobody?
I have a hard time remembering what I read.
That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. He was a prophet. He had been a member of the temple choir, making him a Levite. A prayer, let's look at 3:1 and 19. A prayer of Habakkuk, the prophet upon Shigionoth. Verse 19. The Lord God is my strength. He will make my feet like hinds feet. He will make me walk a chief singer, to the chief singer on my stringed instruments. Part of the temple choir. Now, I don't know what 3:1. Shiggy, I have the temple choir, chapter 3, verse 19, at verse 1. So apparently that's what that means. By the way, how many were involved in the making of the music? Here we have 3 piano players. How many were involved in that? Anybody recall? I think there's 20,000.
Wow.
And it's a certain tribe, the Levites, and it's a certain part of that tribe, and they were trained. All right, it wasn't that it was just hereditary that they had the ability, but they were also trained. In other words, they practiced, and then they would probably do it like the way it would be done would be if you go back here or forward to Luke chapter 1.
In courses?
There you go. How'd you know that? Luke 1.
So hard to get them all in the same building.
You can't get them in the same building. Well, you can, but that's going to be in heaven.
Well, you have to go to Greece to the amphitheater.
Yeah. Let's see here. Here, in verse 5 of Luke chapter 1, there was in the days of Herod the king of Judah a certain priest named Zacharias of the course of Abiah. Now, knowing when his course served, this is how you can guess when Jesus was born. So how would you do that? They served by courses. So not all the priests were there at one time. They took turns in their service. So the choir, they would sing and praise the Lord, play their instruments, and so on in courses. So then how would you guess when Jesus was born? Zacharias, the course of Abiah, you would look back in the Old Testament to see when Abiah served in that course. Then who was born here because of Zacharias?
John Baptist.
John the Baptist. So now you're going to go from his wife is expecting. Then when the baby is born, what's the age difference between the Zacharias and his direct relative, which would be it's a cousin, I think. It could be a second cousin. It's a cousin, which is Jesus.
7 months.
I think it's 6 months. 6 months difference in age. So John the Baptist started to serve as a prophet, maybe as a priest. At the age, it said he was about 30 years of age. So Jesus he starts serving. You had to be 30 years of age to be a priest to serve. He fulfilled the law, so he's 30 years old. There's another place where I can show you where a priest was in his 20s, but aside from that, they started serving from 30 to what age? When did they retire? No.
When they die?
You know, they want to say that the Baptist preacher has to serve till he dies, right?
Till his wife kills him.
Until his wife. How old was it when the priest retired? Anybody recall that? I think it's the age of 50.
Yeah, well, that's getting up there too.
So it's 50 years of age, they retire.
But Jesus could not be a priest. He was Judah. He was not a Levite. Jesus.
Well, that's another topic, and I'm not prepared to talk
Well,
about
keep it
that
there.
right now. So anyway, I think they served till they were 50, and that's how you can, by that course, the only reason I'm bringing that up, the choir couldn't get in there. They served by courses. They couldn't the orchestra, they couldn't fit them all in there. They would serve probably for the month, for whatever the course was. They served for that much time. And by the way, how did they make their living?
Gifts,
Yeah, and what were those gifts?
the sacrifices.
The sacrifices, the first fruits, all that stuff that was brought in. So they received, what is it that they did not receive? They never got any land.
Right.
They never could stake their claim out. The land was never chopped up to them because their service and their pay was gathered up for them. So they didn't do any farming and cattle driving and so on. And that's how they were paid. So he's a member of the temple choir. I believe it's 20,000. It could be. There's a place where the count is actually given. There's a bunch of them, and they are trained. They're skilled in what they do. Who was skilled on the harp?
David?
David was. He was skilled. It means he did the 3 P's.
Practice.
Practice. Pluck. Pluck. Practice. So he was skilled on a harp. Now, it's not a full harp, but like you and I think of a harp. What is a harp today?
Electric guitar.
It's an electric guitar. All it is what's in that box, and it's upright. And Harpo could play. He could really play. He could really play well. And then I was at it could have been the Cleveland Clinic. I was in a waiting room. I think it was for my mother for her eyes. They had a harp player there. And so I went over there to watch her play, and I looked at the harp. The strings are color-coded. Just so you know, they're color-coded with like red and black to segregate the black and white keys. That way you can tell what is a black key and a white key.
Sharps and flats.
Now we'll get to now how do you get to 1 sharp, 1 flat, 2 sharps? How do you, because now you have to change that to get to these different keys. There's a pedal on the harp where you push this pedal and it changes the distance. It makes something sharp. So you can play the sharps and flats. There's a pedal.
A wah-wah pedal.
Pardon?
Yeah, rock and roll's got that.
Well, there was a pedal on it and it was color coded. I was never up close to it because the harps I ever saw never had that. I would call that cheating. Those are cheats. But they put the cheats on, not the pedals, but the color coding. I would call that cheating. And but they had it on there. So and she was good. I mean, she was just plucking away, you know. All right, temple choir. There's a ton of them, and they served in. I would assume they served in courses, and nothing else is known about him. Nothing else is known. And like I said, some of these prophets served at the same time, just like in the book of Judges. Not all the judges served in separate times. Some of them overlapped in their judging of Israel in the book of Judges. It's written in 609 BC. And God would raise up the Babylonians as the Chaldeans to discipline his children. What would you call that minister? What are the 2 ministers in the Bible?
Minister of God and minister of Christ.
There's the minister of God and there's the minister of Christ. What minister, this may sound offensive. Well, let's just go there. What minister then is Hitler?
God.
He's the minister of God to discipline his children. Now, this is an assumption. We don't know what God's motive was there. To get the Jews where?
To Israel.
To get them back to Israel. Because that's where, when the war was over, that's where the refugees went. They went back to Israel. They were supposed to go in 1918, whenever that accord was signed or the treaty was signed, and it all got forestalled. And by the way, when they arrived, they were attacked immediately. And who won? Who won? Israel. Israel. All right, so he raises up the Chaldeans to discipline his children in verses 5 and 6. Behold ye among the heathen in regard, and wonder marvelously. For I will work a work in your days which ye will not believe, though it be told you. For lo, I raise up the Chaldeans, that bitter and hasty nation, who shall march through the breadth of the land to possess the dwelling places that are not theirs. So he marches them through to discipline the children of Israel. So he takes them captive. That would be I would assume here, the southern kingdom. His name means embrace or cling. Obadiah is the fate of Edom. He spells out these fates. Nahum, the fate of Assyria, and here in Habakkuk, the fate of Babylon. By the way, what is the name of Jerusalem?
City of Peace.
There's another name for it.
Uh-oh. So,
See, when we say Babylon, and then Peter goes to Babylon. So the assumption he goes to Rome. But the way you can disprove that is Paul said he would not sow where another man sowed before. He wanted to be first on the block. And Paul went to Rome. So Peter, when we say went to Babylon, the assumption is that Babylon is another term for Rome. He actually goes to Babylon. These Baptists, they argue about how where these places are. So what is in spirit? What is Jerusalem called? I can't think of it. It's in Revelation. It escapes my mind.
Sodom and Egypt.
Sodom and Egypt. Yes, it's called Sodom and Egypt. All right. A dialogue between Habakkuk and God. What is a dialogue between a person and God? When you're talking to God, that's called what?
Prayer.
Prayer. And when God's talking to you,
Text.
at least today,
Texting.
it's not texting.
God texted.
I do want to do that.
No, God texted.
I wanted to make a text. But we had people that were against that. So I never put it up there. I wanted to do a billboard with texting, a text message from God, trying to reach young people.
John 3:16.
Yeah, and do it in a text message. And man, we had pushback on that. Okay, so when God talks to you and I, that's the word, that's the Bible. That's the Bible. At least, otherwise you're getting special revelations from God. And that's not for today. Getting special, if you are, you better find out what's in your cigarettes. What's in that thing?
You better be 100% correct all the time.
You better be. And if you aren't, what do they throw for you?
It's a rock party.
A rock party. Exactly. They throw you a stoning. Okay, so it's a dialogue between Habakkuk and God. All right, chapter 1. It's kind of like this complaining. God will do too little, God will do too much, and God will be merciful. That flows like what book? Similar to. Who complained like that? He said, I knew you weren't going to do that, God. I just knew it. He was mad.
Oh.
Jonah did that. He did that. So God will do too little, God will do too much, but God always, they say sometimes God is early, but God is never early, God is never late, He's always right on time. And if he seems early, the only time he's going to be early is for whose sake?
Judah.
Yeah, and he calls him what word? The elect. For the elect's sake. Otherwise, they're going to get wiped out. And he comes to end the persecution of them. The burden, verses 1 through 4, let's just go ahead and read. The burden which Habakkuk the prophet did see. O Lord, how long shall I cry, and thou wilt not hear? Even cry out unto thee of violence, and thou wilt not save. Why dost thou show me iniquity, and cause me to behold grievance? For spoiling and violence are before me, and there are that rise up strife and contention. For the law is slack, and judgment doth never go forth. For the wicked doth compass about the righteous. Compass means to surround, like a compass, making a circle. Therefore, wrong judgment proceeded. Does that sound like America today? Where these judges are... we've been before those black robe thugs. We call them black robe pirates. They make it up on the fly. Now, we weren't on trial, but the county would tell us that that's not legal, that these judges break the law, they make it up on the fly. They're making it up on the fly. So he has this burden, and he's praying about it. And it seems like God's not acting. God, you're doing too little. What's going on here? Chapter 2, the vision, chapter 2, verses 1 through 3. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower. Will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. The Lord answered me and said, write the vision, and make it plain upon tables, that he may run and readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. But at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. All right? In other words, it seems like a judgment is never going to come. And it says, what does it mean to tarry? Tarry.
To put it off.
To put it off. The definition of the word. Always remember this, when you don't know a word, the definition is in the verse. It's either the verse prior to it, the verse of, or the verse after, as a general rule. To put off. So let's look at it. The vision is yet for an appointed time, verse 3, at the end of though it tarry, meaning putting it off, it says wait. Tarry means to wait. So you can get the gist of the word by reading the entire verse. The Bible, as far as the words, they will define themselves. You don't have to go to Webster's. You definitely don't have to go to Lexington. You don't have to go to... Usually, the definition of the word is found in the verse. In other words, they use the same word in another way that defines that word. So always remember that. So the vision in the prayer, chapter 3, verse 1. A prayer of Habakkuk the prophet upon Shigionoth. So this is the prayer. The quote. Look at verse 5 of chapter 1. Behold ye among the heathen, and regard it and wonder marvelously, for I will work a work in your days which you will not believe, though it be told you. In verse 5 it is quoted in Acts 13:41. I will do a work in your days. He quotes 2:4. Paul quotes that, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. How many times does that show up? It shows up in Romans 1:17, 3:11, and Hebrews 10:38. Who got saved off that verse?
Luther.
Martin Luther got saved off of that, and it was the start of the Great Reformation.
That was a convincer for me.
It was a what?
That was the convincer for me.
It was the just shall live by his faith, by faith. Now, back to this chapter 2, verses 1 through 3. Tarry, waiting. Go, if you would, for those that are looking for the Lord. I know you're looking for him. Go to Hebrews. Hebrews chapter I believe it's in Hebrews.
The Hall of Fame of Faith.
He will not tarry. It says, basically, I thought it was in Hebrews. Seems like it's 1037. Go to 1037. We used to raise rabbits, butcher out rabbits, and I would give them to a church downtown, to this black church. The preacher would come out and he'd bring a couple men, and we would butcher out rabbits. This is before I got saved, and he had a card. And the preacher had his card. I'm from such and such a Baptist church. He was president of the Baptist something in Cleveland. What the association was, I have no idea. What kind of a Baptist he was, I have no idea. Big man. Big man. He died of a heart attack, I think, on the freeway. I never forgot the card, I never forgot him. This was the verse that was on his card. Now remember, I'm lost, I never forgot it. Verse 37, for yet a little while, and he that shall come will come and will not tarry. All right? Even so, come, Lord Jesus. He's right around the corner. He's not waiting. He's coming, and he's coming soon. So remember that. Remember, we're only in day 2, right, of the 2,000 years. We're only in day 2. And he's right around the corner. And when he comes, it's going to happen. All right. He is called... now, I don't feel led to look up Romans, Galatians, or Hebrews. Paul writes those in quotes Habakkuk 2:4. The just shall live by faith. He's the prophet of faith. Okay, here it is. He's the grandfather of the Reformation. Habakkuk got it from God. Paul got it from Habakkuk, he wrote it, and Luther got it from Paul. And we got it from Luther. And the Lutherans got it from Luther. We're not Lutherans, but he got it from Luther. Here's where revival, the only place it shows up in the Bible, God brings revival. Chapter 3, verse 2. O Lord, I have heard thy speech and was afraid. O Lord, revive thy work in the midst of the years, make known in wrath. Remember mercy. Does God schedule revival? Does he get it on a calendar, look up the calendar and mark it up? We need to have revival in, the beginning of March. Does he do that? Who does that? You might not like this. Baptist churches do that. They schedule it. They schedule it in when we have to have a revival. I would ask the people, I'd say, anybody here need reviving? They'd say no, because they're sick and tired of revival meetings. If you just would listen to the preaching and do the preaching, one thing I learned, 90 some plus counseling that's done in church all comes from the pulpit. If we just would listen, exit the building, and do what the Bible says. You don't need reviving, you don't need any of that. It teaches that we need to wait for God's answer. Now we've already seen that. Wait for the answer. Wait and tarry for it. Wait for it. All right, some good things that are in here. What do they call a fisherman? Give me another name for a fisherman.
Angler.
An angler, Bible word, verse 15, chapter 1. They take up all of them with the angle. They catch, now, what do you mean the angle? Is this like a right triangle? Or what, are we talking about drafting? What are we talking about? Angle. They catch. So an angler is trying to catch what? Fish. I will make you fishers of men. And to be an angler is the Bible word. They catch them in their net and gather them in their drag. Therefore they rejoice and are glad. See, if you're not familiar with these words, the definition of that word is in the verse. And the reason that people are not, and I just saw this on the news last week, why they're not familiar with it. They said because of the pandemic, there are 600 and some schools now only have a 4-day school week. And now it's up to 800 and some. Now, I don't know how many schools that would be like nationwide, what the percentage is. There's 850 schools that only have a 4-day school week. Yeah. Now, who knows? And they're pushing all their agenda on top of it. Don't ask me what they're learning in these schools.
It's going to be a longer school year than if the state wants to keep the...
Yeah, now, is this an all-day or all-year thing? I have no idea. Anyway, chapter 2, verse 5. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine. Just identify this person. He transgresseth by wine. So he's good and drunk. He is proud. A proud man, neither keepeth at home. He doesn't keep at home. He doesn't fulfill his role as a husband. Who enlargeth his desire as hell. And is as death. He cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Who is that? Who is that guy?
Me?
The Antichrist. That's the Antichrist. That's who that is. Proverbs, go to Proverbs 20, verse 1. Proverbs 20, is that wine's mockers, strong drink is raging? Yeah, wine's mockers, strong drink is raging. Whosoever is deceived of that is not wise. All right? Get yourself some memory verses. Why is a mocker strong drink is raging? Whosoever is deceived thereby is not wise. Get some verses on your belt that you can memorize. And so this Antichrist guy is, he's not afraid to rule while he's smashed. That's a picture of the Antichrist. All right, chapter 2 again, verse 11. For the stone shall cry out of the wall, and the beam out of the timber shall answer. When will the walls and timbers talk to each other? In the millennium. Verse 14. For the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. All right, they'll ask, knoweth the Lord? And he said, they won't say that anymore because they will all know the Lord. The Bible says they'll all know the Lord. Millennium. Verse 15. Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle to him, makest him drunken also, that thou makest look on their nakedness. None of that's going to happen because it is going to be the millennial rule. By the way, what do they do that? How do they do that today? They give them drink. What do they do? Where do kids learn to do that? They learn it from their... You want to know why the kids are the way they are? Go to the public school and meet the parents. Go to the public school and now meet the parents. The parents are just like the kids. It's where they learn that trash from. They have to be taught it. Taught it. You have to learn how to get your fix from the other gang members. Somebody has to teach these kids this stuff. 3 verse 4. And this is the horns of the hand. His brightness was as the light, and he had horns coming out of his hand, and there was the hiding of his power. And so I think Ruckman has a picture where they show the hands of the Lord and horns come out of his hand. I think one of his pictures is that. He draws that, horns out of his hand. And right now, don't ask me what that means. There's a meaning for that. There's something to that about horns and all. Anyway, that concludes Habakkuk preaching it whenever the music starts.